Welcome back to the weekly news report. We're going to kick things off with the continuation of the partial government shutdown. The DHS, Department of Homeland Security, is still shut down. We're going to show both sides of the aisle and their points of view. And then from there, we're going to provide some commentary and decipher what both parties are saying.
Department of Homeland Security funding bill. It would reopen DHS and reopen and get our airports running again. And they did that for one reason, because they are trying to protect criminal illegal aliens. That's what this entire debate is about, and there's no way for them to hide from that. And they keep putting votes on the board. I've suggested, and I suggested yesterday in a press conference, we should probably take this vote tally, blow it up on a poster, and put it at every airport terminal around America. The Democrats just voted for the third time to make you stand in those long lines and to jeopardize our country. You think of what's at stake right now. We have noted that the Department of Homeland Security...
Be mindful. The Republican Party is basically laying the blame at the feet of the Democratic Party.
...is the third largest department of the federal government. We have 10 agencies in DHS. They happen to be all the agencies whose job it is to keep Americans safe. You're talking about FEMA. Do you know that our disaster relief funds are being depleted right now? You're talking about TSA. You're talking about the Coast Guard. They're not getting paychecks right now, and that's why we have all this calamity and all of this danger. So the question for the Democrats right now is, it's a serious question. How long is this going to go on?
I can't say that I haven't seen this much passion from Speaker Johnson in a while. Normally his persona is cool, calm, and collected, in my opinion. You know, he just kind of sit back, kind of chill, gets the job done. But he really seems annoyed in this clip.
Are we going to wait till somebody brings a firearm on a passenger airplane? Are we going to wait till we have a natural disaster?
As I mentioned, this is definitely a safety issue. And we'll get to it. We'll cook.
Not take care of? This is not a game, but these are not serious people. And they have demonstrated once again that they are putting the welfare of criminal illegal aliens above American citizens. We are mourning the death of Sheridan Gorman, a young college student from Chicago who was murdered by an illegal alien because of Democrat policies. Joe Biden had the border wide open. The Democrats had, in the White House in the last administration, left the border wide open. They apprehended this guy, the murderer, and they let him go. And then he went to Chicago. Why there? Because that's a sanctuary city. They arrested him there for another crime, and they put him out on the street.
So in the bill, the Republican stance is that the Democrats are trying to repeal some of the border tactics or border responsibilities. I haven't read the bill. Probably behoove me to do so. But from the Republican standpoint, that is the issue right now with the proposal.
And he shot a young American citizen, a college student, in the head from the back. This is what's happening in America because these people are putting the welfare of criminal illegal aliens over Americans. This is a vote tally. I just wanted to bring a little visual aid. We just print these out after the votes. This is the resolution right before the funding bill. The resolution was to, quote, express the support of the House of Representatives for the Department of Homeland Security. Here's your vote tally, okay? Every Republican obviously voted yes. Democrats, 187 Democrats voted against a resolution to support the Department of Homeland Security.
Okay. From Speaker Johnson's mouth, every Republican voted for the bill, and apparently over 100 Democrats voted nay. So let's keep going.
Here's a real profile in courage. 13 of them voted present. They don't even have the guts to tell you what they stand for. This upcoming election, again, is a contrast for America. It's a contrast between common sense and crazy. And the Democrats are making crazy policy decisions right now, and it is hurting real Americans, and we've had enough of it. I'll take a couple questions.
Mr. Speaker, Senate Majority Leader John Thune.
You're definitely playing games on both sides. We'll hear Speaker Johnson out a little more, and then we'll get to what the other side of the aisle is, their version.
What he called the last and final offer to Democrats. It would fund DHS except for enforcement and removal operations for ICE. If the Senate is able to pass that, can you get it through the House?
It's a really good question, because we have now, again, for the third time, we just funded the entire Department of Homeland Security. I understand what the Senate's doing. John Thune, Leader Thune, is in a terrible situation because he has Chuck Schumer and the Democrats over there refusing to take care of business and do their job. If they break away that subset, I suppose we'd have to fund it through reconciliation and find some other means. But it's a shame that only one party on Capitol Hill is willing to fund all of the security.
I can't say that this administration, from reporting and personal experience, they have been crafty at trying to make sure the American people receive compensation where there has been fall throughs. I can't say that. I can vouch for that.
Safety of the American people. We cannot believe it's come to that, but it has.
If the Senate gets that through the Senate, will you put it on the floor?
We'll have to see. We have to solve the problem, and it's very sad that Democrats are not interested in doing that. Yes.
Does that mean that you're not in favor of breaking the DHS funding bill apart, just funding TSA, just funding FEMA, having individual votes on each sector?
We have never been in favor of breaking the bill up. Why? Because it's one of the 12 separate appropriations bills that is the most basic function of Congress to fund the government. And we did it in a bipartisan, bicameral manner.
The American people aren't aware, maybe, that this is very important legislation. When it comes to these funding bills, it's not only just those interested parties' paychecks. It's infrastructure. It's the whole kit and caboodle. It's operations. All of that plays a part in the funding of these agencies. Paychecks are important. Paychecks are great for the people who are doing the work, but it's more at hand than just members' paycheck. That's why this is deeply serious, and it's a safety issue.
Remember, the contents of that bill were decided upon earlier by Democrats until they decided to hold the American people hostage in their long lines at the airports and with the safety of everybody on the line to make a political point. It is shameful. There is no way for them to defend this to the American people, and breaking it out I think it puts an exclamation point on what they've tried to do here. It's shameful. So we'll
definitely leave that there. Again, we call it games that they play, but I know both sides are trying to be strategic. You know, both parties are trying to get what they deem correct and what they want. So it's all about compromise, though, you know. That's where we elect officials to, when we say do their job, basically we're meaning do what's in the interest of the American people and reach compromise for the greater good. That's the expectation. So that was one side of the story. We're going to get to another side here in just a bit. And then this is what I call a curtain. So that's why I like platforms like this, because we'll get to it. We'll get to it. Let's hear the other side, and then we'll cook from there. So now we're going to hear from MS Now, Joe Scarborough and company, and let's get their take on the situation, and then we'll go from there.
I want to ask you, Jonathan Lemire, because we're focusing right now on Iran for a very good reason. Americans are not. They're against it. Favorable numbers. But I will tell you, I went to LaGuardia yesterday. 3-hour wait line.
Notice he's back.
Flights canceled.
He got kicked off his plane.
It was absolute chaos. Flights being canceled nonstop. And I just sat there thinking, you know, well, a couple things. First of all, we're all talking about Iran, but these people that are waiting 3 hours in line in all these airports in Washington, it's 4 hours in line.
That's Houston.
That's Houston, 4-hour wait lines. You know, they're not thinking about Iran. They're thinking about the fact that they work and they've got to fly to and from their homes and commute. There's so many people there that are commuting every day.
I have a friend at Newark. It's a mess. It's a complete mess, and TSA.
We got Easter right around the corner. Maybe not the busiest travel day, but definitely a busy one.
Is a mess as well. Yeah, regular TSA, 3 hours.
3-hour wait lines. And I would just say to Republicans,
3-hour wait lines is horrible. I don't even like the 2-hour getting to the airport earlier. So this is a nightmare.
This is on you. If you think that you can blame Democrats, Everybody's saying
You're in charge.
You're in charge of Washington, and
we just heard. Pay attention. We just heard the comments from Speaker Johnson. So let's continue.
I can't say it completely. I will just say that I heard somebody yell in line yesterday, they want to run Iran and they can't even run their own effing airports. And that, really I sat there thinking,
spicy.
Oh my gosh, that is what everybody in this 3-hour line at LaGuardia is. And what happens is they wait in line, they get on the planes, and then the pilots say, flight's canceled. I checked 3, 4.
Yeah, that's the worst when you start getting those alerts, those text messages, flights delayed. That's how they like to string you along. They say, flight's delayed. Then an hour later, flight's delayed. Then, you just can feel it. Yeah, this flight's going to be canceled. So you better either try to get another plane or try to book something for the fastest thing out of there, basically.
Flights canceled yesterday out of LaGuardia. It's happening at airports all over the place. It's chaos. And so it's weird. So sometimes we need to cover Iran. But I'm just telling you, people who vote, they're looking at gas prices and they're looking at the airport, and they're not too dumb to understand on social media that Republicans, once again, had a chance to vote for TSA funding, and they voted it down. Let me say that again. Republicans now 10 times, all they had to do is say yes, and TSA funding.
He said Republicans had the opportunity and they voted it down, contrary to what Speaker Johnson just said.
Asked. They won't do it.
Yeah, the people are angry. We're seeing right now, it's people who are using air commute for work. It is the spring sports season for so many parents with kids have tournaments. Yeah. Spring break is on the horizon.
Easter's coming up.
Easter and Passover are next week.
Do you know what I'm trying to figure out? How to get all my family together.
It's not going to be possible.
And because I've got adult children, as everybody with adult children know, we've been planning this like a Phil Marshall Montgomery for months now. People getting off of work, figuring out how to get the babies, all that. And I had to...
Definitely looking forward to Passover. But that's a whole nother story. Let's continue.
Yesterday, and I was in the airport, and I don't know if we're going to be able to get together for Easter because all these flights are getting canceled and it's chaos. I didn't say because Republicans keep refusing to pay TSA, but Republicans keep refusing to pay TSA.
You heard the words from Joe's mouth. Do I need to rewind it? I don't think I do. Quote, Republicans, I forget what he said verbatim, but he's basically saying the Republicans are the ones who's holding up the bill.
It's expensive. People are furious, and rightly so. Airports across the country, 3-4 hours. There was a photo in Houston yesterday, former Attorney General Bill Barr standing in line for 3 hours waiting to get in line. It's affecting everybody, and I think this is the last week or so, this has become the dominant story in the country line, even more than the war. And I think in the last few days...
Speaking of Bill Barr, it said Delta revoked the congressman's, basically they're like, their entitlement, but their it's just the advantage they had of just walking straight up through the line. It just wasn't a good look. So that's in the news as well.
Really broken through that this is...
Delta revoked their privilege, basically. That's one of their privileges.
Have had chances to put the funding through and they haven't. And even this week, the Senate Republicans, John Thune said, let's get this done. And it's President Trump who said no.
Do you know how many times President Trump has flown, gone into...
He just said viciously, well, I don't know, viciously might be a strong word, but adamantly it was President Trump who didn't get it done. So a lot of name calling and I just call it finger pointing.
An airport and flown a commercial flight in the last 30 years?
Zero.
Never. Do you know Howard Lutnick? Do you know how many times Howard Lutnick has flown? Do you know how many times the billionaires that are in the cabinet are people that would be talking to Donald Trump? Do you know how many times they've actually had to get in an airport and wait 3 hours and
How about pump gas? How about pump gas for their own car?
Go to a grocery store.
Go to a commercial flight and fly somewhere. I'm sorry. I think it's safe to say our commander-in-chief has probably never done
this
that.
This is a nightmare. I mean, this is a nightmare for mainly for TSA agents. And I will say I've flown Richard 3-4 times over the past 3 or 4 days, 4 or 5 days. And that
I can't say to add on. Patrons are the majority. They may have a horror story, but they are getting to where they need to go. I'm hearing of folks catching a flight and leaving the same day. It's just more wait times and probably just not the most convenient experience as compared to when everything's running smoothly.
TSA agent. And I just want to say this about the men and women that are there working
safe
when some of their coworkers are not. Every one of them, I say thank you so much. I'm so grateful you're here. Thank you. I know this is hard.
Yeah, let's start doing that. This is a reminder that TSA employees, they may not be your favorite people on earth, but hey, it's an important gig, and hopefully they'll get more admiration. Even Tyler Perry, we're just breaking news. TSA agents couldn't accept funding. They couldn't accept just cash payouts. So Tyler Perry in Atlanta, I know he went and handed out gift cards, which was very admirable.
And every one of them are so polite. Every one of them say, thank you so much. Just like, thank you. We appreciate it. They'd love to say, thank you. We appreciate it. Now, get us paid. But they've been so professional and so, but I'm telling you, there were thousands of people in line, and I saw 4 TSA agents. And in a time of increased terror threats, with Iran saying they're going to strike.
Thank goodness we haven't had reports of that. I mean, thank goodness, because that would have been catastrophic. Reports of any terrorism attacks or any kind of contraband or anything like that. That's no bueno at this time.
Against American targets globally, with the FBI a couple of months ago firing the people who knew the most about terror threats from Iran, for whatever stupid reason that was, we are letting down our defenses at a time we should have double TSA agents, because Iran has been warning us for a decade that if we ever attack them, they would strike out against us domestically. They would start blowing things up in America. And what are Republicans doing right now? They're voting no to paying TSA agents. They're voting no to pay TSA agents. Let me say it 10 times. Democrats keep bringing it to the bill to get rid of this problem. And Republicans keep making this problem worse at the very time we need more TSA agents and not less.
So if I may.
Can everybody see how both parties are framing it? We'll get to it. We'll get to it. Well, I don't want to. Basically, they're framing it. That may have been, and again, obviously I'm not there, but from what I deduce is Mr. Scarborough, he just mentioned that Democrats, they proposed the bill X amount of times, but that might not be a full truth, because yes, they may have issued out the bill numerous times, but what was inside of that, like them breaking up these agencies individually, he's not mentioning that, and that very well could be the case why the Republicans are not on board with the bill. So it's kind of like a half true. It's true, but it's without context.
Who's going to Richard?
I know. Before you speak, Richard, I have a friend at Newark Airport. 3 TSA agents for an entire terminal, and people are furious, and that's repeating across 3.
And that's vice versa for the Republican Party. They're saying, look, every Republican signed this bill. Every Republican voted yes, 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 yes. Well, obviously, that's true. However, the Democrats didn't like what was in their version of the bill. So that's why you need platforms like this, on YouTube and abroad, because we don't have as much skin in the game as they do in regards to, we feel most of the effects from it, but we don't have the skin in the game as far as what they're trying to accomplish for their lobbyists or their constituents, probably most of their lobbyists. So we can give it to you how we see it and hopefully you share the same vision on that. I don't work for either one of these folks, so I can decipher, and just based on other reporting and keeping an ear to the street on what's going on, everything I'm saying is not restricted by any. I don't have a boss telling me, hey, you need to say these talking points. So support platforms like this. We're just getting started, and we're going to try to give you the news as real as possible.
Yeah, I flew in and out of Houston this week, which was an experience.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah. Look, the TSA agents were incredibly gracious. I was
so nice.
I was the clutch travel. I lost an AirPod, and my suitcase open. I had to open it up to get some stuff out, the electronics. Mm-hmm. I forgot to close it. It all dumped on the floor. Several TSA.
Okay, yeah, we're definitely going to leave that there. Good story. But again, that was my point. We just showed you both sides of the coin and how both are flipping it. At the end of the day, people like me, hopefully people like you, we want to see results. We want to see what's the best for the greater good. That's the side of the aisle I'm on. So we're going to monitor the situation. Again, the government is still partially shut down, and they didn't make it happen prior to the 2-week break or recess, as they call it, for Easter, Passover for myself. So it's going to be 2 more weeks of this. So we'll monitor the situation and report back as appropriate. We did report that ICE agents were going to start manning the posts at various airports in the country. I have seen video of them scrolling through the airports. I'm not sure if it's helping or hurting the situation, but let's see if their efforts are, making things better or worse.
Social media post from Atlanta's airport. It says, due to TSA's staffing constraint, ATL is continuing to see longer than normal wait times at security checkpoints. Travelers are encouraged to arrive at least 4 hours early. We appreciate you.
And that's one thing. Every airport differs. Major airports such as Miami, Atlanta, Reagan, maybe Chicago here, those may see significant backup lines, while your smaller airports may not have as much as an issue. So it's sounding like it's case by case.
And thank our federal and airport partners for their continued dedication. It comes as ICE agents are now at Hartsfield-Jackson International to help with these long lines that we're seeing at security checkpoints. The move is meant to help TSA agents who have called out after not getting paid for weeks due to the partial government shutdown. We're going to be joined now by our team.
Okay, so it sounds like it's like subbing in, it's like calling up a sub. Let's get an ICE agent. Subbing in, substitution.
5 in Atlanta. Lindsay Tuman is standing by live for us there at the airport. Lindsay, what can you tell us?
Hopefully they're placed in a position where it's just management. Because those TSA agents, I used to work with a TSA agent, or a former one. They take extensive training and they have to take tests to hold that position. So anyone can't just show up and perform their tasks.
How some of these lines are looking like this morning.
Hey, good morning to you, Carell. Well, I'll tell you, they are exceptionally long. Let me go ahead and step out of the way. You can get a look for it yourself. Here is the main security checkpoint, where at this point, folks are probably have another hour and a half, 2 hours to get through. And they tell us they had already been waiting in line for 2 hours. This is actually a little bit better, because earlier this morning, these lines were out the door, down the block. Now they're all just winding through baggage claim. But even with these ICE officers here, folks worry it's not going to improve the situation. The wait times to get through security at Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport have been staggering.
It seemed like I didn't sleep last night to get here to the airport. It's unfortunate, but hey, I got to do what I got to do.
The line started outside for some, and people waited for hours before even making it to the main checkpoint to wait hours more.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's brutal. Waiting that much time just to get to the main check-in area. That's brutal.
Like about 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah. What time was your flight?
9:40. We've been here since what time did we get here? We came from Alabama, so we've been here since midnight.
There's a new plan to help ease some of the burden on TSA workers. President Trump is now sending hundreds of ICE officers to airports, including Atlanta's. Mayor Andre Dickens issued a statement about the presence of immigration officers at the airport, saying the ICE officers will help with line management and crowd control in the domestic terminal, and their job is not to conduct immigration enforcement.
Roger on the immigration enforcement. And basically, did you hear what they said? They said, basically line management and things of that nature. So they won't be patting you down and getting you through the metal detectors and all that good stuff. So that's good.
Before 4. We got in line at about, 3:45. Yeah.
And that's where we are now. And the line started at the end of...
Like where Southwest is, very beginning, so yeah. And it doesn't help that people are cutting in line too. So that's annoying.
Well,
that's what ICE officers are going to come in handy because, they should be able to manage all of that.
Get ready for another week of spring break travel. They're hopeful it will make a difference.
I flew out yesterday. It took me 5 minutes to get through down there, but up here, that's ridiculous.
It is a tough situation out here, and I heard you mention a little notice to passengers to get here 4 hours in advance. It says the same thing when you check the TSA wait time website. There are no wait times.
And what sucks is, if you're like me, you get a little, whenever you got to catch a flight, you get that little anxiety because you don't want to miss it. So this is extremely stressful, showing up 6-7 hours early just so you don't miss your flight because you just don't know. It's just definitely it raises the anxiety.
It just says get here at least 4 hours early. And as I mentioned, folks have at least 4 hours really in the line. So adding on time to that is probably the smart thing to do for right now. Reporting live from Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport, I'm Lindsay Tuman. Back to you.
Lindsay, thanks so much for checking in with us here and giving us a glimpse as to how the airport is looking there in Atlanta.
So we're going to leave that there. Definitely monitor the situation. Hopefully ICE officers won't be on the hook to be substituting for the TSA agents, especially in light of TSA. They're going to get paid here in the short future. The bill hasn't been passed, but they are working away. The administration is going to make sure that they get compensated for the time that has lapsed. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that and report back as more information is provided. We told you we were going to monitor the situation, and I'm happy to report that just in, looks like TSA agents are going to get paid. It has been confirmed. So check it out.
Good. Chad, we need some clarity. What is happening and what just happened on Capitol Hill?
Well, if you're standing in line watching the screens at the airport and moaning about how long you're having to stand in line, that's going to be a problem. The reason is because the government shutdown is going to continue. The House and Senate clearly are just not on the same page. The Senate last night approved a bill that would fund everything at DHS with the exception of ICE. That's something that Democrats wanted. The Democrats did not want, or did want, I should say, some of these reforms at ICE. They did not get that. Democrats kind of championed that, and that was sent over to the House of Representatives. And immediately this morning, when we thought there was a ray of hope as dawn fell on Washington, D.C., we suddenly learned that that was not going to be the case here. There was a lot of grumbling on the Republican side of the aisle. We knew that this would take a pretty interesting piece of parliamentary algebra to pass a combination of Democrats and Republicans in the House to agree to this. There were some Republicans who were just never going to go for this because they didn't.
And they're out for 2 weeks, so it's going to continue, and we'll see how long this actually ends up lasting. We're going to surpass the previous shutdown, which was, I want to say, approximately 42 days or so.
The idea that you were splitting up funding for the Department of Homeland.
We're knocking on that door right now.
security and not funding ICE. Meantime, the whole idea here is that you would have to bring some Democrats on board. Liberals, progressives would not like that, simply because there weren't those reforms to ICE. Then the other problem here is that you had people in the middle who said, I want to see bill text. I want to understand what the Senate did, because there was not a conversation. This passed by voice vote in the middle of the night in the Senate at about 2:12, 2:14 in the morning. Well, let me just kind of walk you through the day, because this has been a very organic day where we've thought there's been a deal, maybe not. It's changed. To give you a sense here, that Mike Johnson's press conference a bit ago was delayed by about an hour. Hakeem Jeffries was supposed to have a press conference. That still hasn't happened. But by mid-morning, there was the sense that conservatives in the House were opposed to this. And suddenly there was a growing universe of Democrats in the House who would be in favor of this and line up. And the idea that, if you were going to pass the bill with some Republicans and mostly Democrats, even though Republicans have the majority, a slim one in the House of Representatives.
Come on, Chad, get to it. Get to it.
Be a bad look for Republicans. Hakeem Jeffries finally said, I think that this is a good deal. Finally, you had Rosa DeLauro, the top Democrat on the Appropriations Committee, calling this a win. I thought it was interesting.
All promising conjecture, all promising words, but obviously they get to the deal, so let's just get to the meat and the potatoes.
Jeffries was willing to sign off on this and kind of call the Republican bluff again, even though he didn't get exactly what he wanted. He said several weeks ago when Kristi Noem was out as the Homeland Security Secretary that just putting Markwayne Mullin in as a replacement was not enough for them to change their position. They wanted concrete reforms in legislative.
For those that didn't know, Department of Homeland Security Secretary has been relieved. Kristi Noem, she has been replaced by Markwayne Mullin. So we'll see the direction that Department of Homeland Security takes due to a change in leadership.
To say this is what we're going to see with ICE. And they certainly never got that in this agreement. Now, let me walk you through what happened in the Senate last night and why this so offended so many Republicans in the House, especially conservatives. Neither body likes being jammed. That's a problem. And the House just was jammed by the Senate, essentially, guys.
Okay. Hey, Chad, just before you go into the detail on that, a little bit of breaking news. I'm told that President Trump just signed the executive order that would give the current paychecks, at least, to TSA agents. I don't know if that would include the back pay. I'm not sure if it would, but President Trump apparently just signed.
Ooh, that's a good point. I was hoping that their compensation package would include the 30-odd days that if they're going to get their current paycheck, so they will only be they missed 2 paychecks. This would have been their third. So they'll still be out of 2. Okay, hopefully they're made whole, but they probably need more than 1 paycheck. So let's see what they say.
Information coming to me. This executive order, which would pay TSA. So it looks like there will be something coming to their bank accounts very soon, if not in the next few hours, in the next day or two, I'm sure. But then going forward.
And we're all paid in arrears, so, you're paid for work that has been done. So that would be going on their third, though. Let's see.
I have never seen Mike Johnson like that. He is under pressure. He is the coolest, calmest guy. Never really see him get upset. He looked.
Yeah, I said the same thing, but he seemed pissed,
stressed out.
Yeah, well, a couple of things there is that, number one, I think.
Or agitated at a minimum.
Felt that he was rolled by the Senate, the majority leader. He also had to demonstrate that he was fighting for this position, the House Republican position, so there's internal Republican politics involved, and there's always this natural tension between the House and Senate. So I asked him why, if you had Senate Republicans, remember there's 53 Senate Republicans, John Thune is the Senate majority leader, why he signed off on that. And this was our exchange just a few minutes ago. Thune are not on the same page. You came out and criticized Democrats. He was the engineer behind this. Why are you guys not on the same page? And are you not extending the shutdown? If you were to accept what the Senate had passed, this could end tonight and the TSA lines would shrink.
I wouldn't call John Thune the engineer of this. Chuck Schumer and the Democrats in the Senate. Chuck Schumer and the Democrats in the Senate have forced this upon the Senate. I have to protect the House. Let me answer the question, Chad. I have to protect the House. And I have to protect the American people. That's our responsibility. Our colleagues on this side understand this is not a game. We are not playing their games. These people want open borders and they want criminal illegal aliens in the country. They do not want to enforce the law. They want to literally defund. You just read it in the bill here. They want to give.
Though that's Speaker Johnson's words, so let's take note of that and let's remember that and let's proceed.
$0 to enforcing federal immigration laws and keeping the border secure. That was the biggest issue in the election of 2024, the wide open border that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris hoisted upon the country. And 20 million, by some estimates, 20 million dangerous criminal illegal aliens, including.
They just seem too far. If a slither of that is true, they just seem too far apart. Hey, we're here to report it as it is. They're just way too far apart.
That number came over the border. We have terrorists in our country. We have obviously murderers. They're putting it on display. And then these big blue cities that have sanctuary city policies, they're releasing these people onto the streets. They released them over the border when they came over under the Biden years. And that is the turmoil that we're facing right now. The very serious threats to the homeland and everybody. It's not just long lines at the airport. It is the danger and safety of everyone.
So Mike Johnson, he called that proposal from the Senate, again passed by the Republican-led Senate, a joke. Now, on a voice vote, and this is going to be very important, there is something in the Senate called a hotline. And so sometime late last night, John Thune on the Republican side, the Democrats, Chuck Schumer on the Democratic side, they ran a hotline. This is a message that goes around universally to all 100 senators. And sometimes if you have a bill or an amendment or any proposal,
you just got to listen to both and try to listen to keywords. You know, just like Speaker Johnson said, you know, these blue cities, well, he said they have sanctuary cities. So I'm pretty sure only blue cities do have the sanctuary city in place, though. So, yeah, we'll monitor the situation, try to decipher as best as we can.
That you want to advance quickly, you can do so if everybody agrees. Well, nobody objected. And so they said, okay, we're going to come in and do this. Anybody could have come in and flagged this ahead of time, even before they go to the floor, and said, hey, we're not going to pass this. This was not a unanimous consent request where somebody actually comes and objected. But you do this, off stage and say, I'm going to have a problem with this. And then they might force you to come down to the floor and object. So what Mike Johnson wants to do is kind of put the shoe on the other foot here, pass a bill that is different from the Senate.
There actually should have been no recess until we got a resolution or we got an agreement. That should have been a course of action, or as we like to call it, a COA.
Keep DHS open for 60 days, 2 months here, fund everything, and force the Senate when there is a brief pro forma session. Remember, there's basic.
That sounds like a compromise. Do a 60-day deal, a 60-day agreement. And then you still fund everything, and then you still can do your negotiations. In the meantime, it's like a Band-Aid.
Everybody hit the airports early this morning and the train stations as soon as the sun came up. To have somebody, in their mind, preferably a Democrat, come back and object to that.
Obviously, a dollar amount will be attached to that. That's 60 days.
And then they can pin this on the Democrats. So already we have this staring match going on since last night. I thought it was interesting. There was a statement sent out this morning from Rick Scott, the Republican senator from Florida, who said that he opposed the proposal. He opposed the bill that was passed by the Senate last night. And I reached out to his office and I said, well, if you oppose it, why didn't he go down to the floor and object, or on the hotline tell the Senate Republican leadership, I have a problem with this? That never happened. So there's a lot of people saying I oppose something, but they didn't do anything about it on the floor when they could.
Chad, it's Larry. Can I just ask a question?
Surely.
Because I'm somewhat confused.
You and me both, Larry. You and me both.
And as you pointed out, the Democrats wanted reforms. They wanted to roll back a lot of ICE jurisdictions and efforts. Okay, that did not happen in the Senate bill. Now, the funding part My understanding is it was never about funding because ICE and the Customs Bureau was funded through one big beautiful bill through 2029. Now,
that is a fact. They're doing a lot of hooping and hollering when ICE already has their funding secured. What I'm pretty sure it hasn't been distributed though. They may agree to how much it's going to be, but it still comes in increments. That I know.
is there an issue here that somehow administrative funding was necessary and didn't get it? No, when Mike Johnson says ICE must be funded, and I agree with him about the border and other things he said, I just wasn't aware that ICE funding was even an issue. ICE reforms, as you put it, I call just, rolling back. That, yes, I get it. And that they didn't get, the Democrats. But ICE funding? What? I don't understand that.
There is a bit of a dispute, frankly. I mean, you'll talk to some people and they will say, hey, there is, money through the big, beautiful bill.
Yeah, when they say reform, they're speaking of the practices that the ICE officers are using, has been documented. But the reform, that's not, for context, it's not budget. So, I don't know. Let's listen.
That funds everything at ICE through 2029. And there's others like Rick Scott, who I'll cite again here, who indicated that things aren't. I mean, I talked to him extensively in the hall about this the other day. So sometimes it's in the eye of the beholder, frankly, and that's why we're having a little bit of a challenge to get an answer on this score. But the bottom line here is that, we thought that they might be able to address this shutdown and put this fire out by tonight. That's not going to happen anytime soon. Now, sometimes, I will say this, and this is very important, guys, that things get really bad, and they have devolved really bad. We are 10 feet deep right now. Sometimes it has to get that bad before things come back up. But Chuck Schumer has already demonstrated that they have opposition to this Republican plan in the House. And again, this would all be on the Republicans. They have that narrow margin. They have to have, their votes to pass their bill. I mean, that would be the ultimate problem if they can't pass their own bill, because the Democrats will say, well, we were willing to help on the bill that the Senate passed because that was a bipartisan bill.
Make no mistake. We call it a game for lack of better terms, but this is going to cause effects during midterms and elections. So again, these individuals, these lawmakers, or Congress, I should say, they're smart. They're smart cookies. So they know what they're doing. This is strategic. And, that's just a part of their strategy. And I'm guarantee you that it's going to affect, the voters. Because that's just how this thing is played. And, this is going to cause we'll monitor it. We'll see how midterms go. And we'll see if more. We'll see the effects of midterms. How about that? And the talking points of the candidates, in lieu of the current events.
And this has kind of changed a little bit in the past few years here. A lot of times you would have something that would pass in the Senate, and that would give air cover for House members on both sides of the aisle to pass a bill, because you have senators who represent an entire state. Sometimes you have a Republican and a Democratic senator from a given state. So sometimes that would give them, the ability to pass something. That's not working in this instance right
Just want to note, Chad, as the president makes his way down to John's point about the emergency funding, that the president has signed, the memorandum went out about 10 minutes ago, signed by the president, promising that.
So the president had to essentially sign an EO, an executive order, is what it sounds like, to get TSA agents. This is definitely a Band-Aid to get them at least their current paycheck. That's what it sounds like.
He will take care of these TSA workers. As President of the United States, he's determined that these circumstances constitute an emergency situation compromising the nation's security. So the White House has put out an official memorandum for the Secretary of Homeland Security through the Director of the Office of Management and Budget. So they're looking to take care of these TSA workers as this fight rages on. Chad, real quickly, still wondering how that is. So Larry's still puzzled about the funding. Like if it.
There have been reports of TSA agents, they're getting evicted, their rent was due. I find it shocking that whoever they pay their rent to wouldn't at least understand the situation and hold it into abeyance. I found that kind of shocking, but there are reports coming in that they're definitely falling on hard times, and some of them are facing eviction. A lot of them have been doing DoorDash and things of that nature just to get by. So it's unfortunate.
The fight over the ICE was the reforms. And if the Senate, obviously, the House is not aligning with the Senate, and the House and Speaker Johnson says we've got to fund ICE, but ICE is funded through 2029 through the big, beautiful bill. How do you explain that to somebody?
You see, Mike Johnson had people telling him in his conference, he said, we're not going to, not help ICE out. That these people deserve to be paid. We deserve to. And they also were very resistant to breaking off part of that spending bill. That's something they don't like, the idea of setting a bad precedent for that in the appropriations process. The idea that you have a bill that funds the Department of Homeland Security. That's one of the 12 annual appropriations bills. And then you're breaking that up into 3/5 or, 1/2 or whatever you want to do there. That starts to create big problems. You can do that, but I remember talking to Katie Britt, the Republican senator from Alabama, about this last week, and she was trying to get a deal here, but she really worried about that for setting precedent for going forward. Here's one thing I want to leave folks on. I always say that it's about the math. And when we came up to the precipice of a government shutdown in March of last year, a lot of people thought, they might not be able to have the votes to unlock this box. They went for 43 days last fall. We've gone for, how many different iterations now since last fall and into the winter and now spring again with the Homeland Security Department. So it's possible that there might not be a combination on this lock that people can work. They have to have the math be able to work in both the House and Senate, and they might be locked in a box right now that they just can't get out of.
All right, Chad Perkin-Forrest watching everything on Cap.
Okay, we're going to leave it there, Chad. That was long-winded to not really say much, but thank you for your reporting on that. So with that being said, TSA agents are getting some income. Hopefully they can weather the storm and continue to hold on. A bill's going to have to get passed sooner or later. I would definitely talk to my creditors if I'm in their situation, if their savings have been depleted, and, look for something new if that's your forte. It's not as easy. People think, people say, why don't they just quit? Why don't they just quit? It's not that easy just to up and change careers, especially if you devoted a significant amount of time with that organization. So again, thoughts and prayers out to TSA agents. We'll monitor the situation, and best of luck to you, and just hang in there. Should we incorporate more AI in schools, artificial intelligence? Well, there's a school now that's going to be doing a model of basically incorporating more AI into their classroom, or basically their entire curriculum. I'm not talking about AI teachers. Been hearing reports on teachers being, basically artificial intelligence. I have my thoughts on that. I'm sure there are pros and cons. I think that human aspect of in the classroom, it can vary from teacher to teacher, but teachers are important, to be honest with you. There are teachers out there that still care. So I don't want them to get that bad stigma that teachers are just there to babysit the kids while their parents are at work. That's just not true. A lot of those teachers, basically and definitely due to their pay, they aren't. I would like to think the majority of them are there because they genuinely care. They have a passion for the craft. And, that's why they're there. That's why they are there at the end of the day. But again, this segment is on incorporating more artificial intelligence in the school. I think it's definitely the writing's on the wall. It's a need there due to the way the world is moving with the technology. I definitely think it's a benefit. I need to know all the ins and outs or what magnitude the AI will be incorporated. But let's see what Maria has to say about it, and then we'll provide commentary and go from there.
New American school.
I like Maria.
is revolutionizing education using AI. Alpha schools are at the forefront of a growing movement.
Alpha schools. Keep that in mind. Alpha schools. Looks like Texas.
Providing students with a more personalized education experience using...
Tell you what, Texas is going to be the next Silicon Valley. You know, Elon's out there. A lot of the big wigs. I think Meta. What's the Meta guy? Zuckerberg. I think he's in Florida though. Him or Bezos. Anyway, it's a lot of smart people migrating to Texas. They got a good. Obviously, they got a good. I don't know if it's the tax law or if it's the land, the vacancy of land, but they got a good thing going out there. They're gonna keep an eye on Texas. They're probably gonna be the next powerhouse in industries here coming up very soon.
This advanced technology. The school replaces a traditional classroom using AI tutors and adaptive learning platforms to identify students' strengths and where the gaps lie in the curriculum. So far, the results have been outstanding. Students scoring in the top 1% to 2% nationally in math, reading, science, and language. Joining me right now is the co-founder and the CEO of Alpha Schools, Mackenzie Price. Mackenzie, great to have you.
Maria, thanks for having me. There's nothing I like talking about more than education because
They're already seeing results, so that's a good thing.
it is the most important resource we have at our disposal to help young people be successful in this new world.
Absolutely. And I was talking to someone yesterday about the fact that it's been education and healthcare that have been impervious to any changes in technology for a long time. But suddenly AI is actually moving the needle. Tell us about Alpha Schools. What's most important for us to understand?
Well, our traditional education system was built out of the Industrial Revolution to create workers. And now in this new AI world, it is so...
I know we've all heard that, you know. We'll continue.
We create individuals who are dynamic, adaptable, and most importantly, have the skill of learning how to learn. So at Alpha, we're using artificial intelligence to raise human intelligence. Our students are able to get the level and pace of academic knowledge that they need, meets them exactly where they're at. As a result,
that's just so vague. We're using artificial intelligence. Like, I need to know in what way, but let's hear it out.
We see student growth exponentially go up no matter where a student comes to us. And we're doing all of this in only 2 hours during the school day instead of a traditional 6-hour academic school day. And then, of course, that begs the question, what do you do with the rest of the day? And our answer is that we teach life skills, leadership, entrepreneurship, financial literacy, public speaking, relationship building. Those are the skills that are going to help kids be successful.
So far, everything she's saying is music to the ears. Let's continue.
We also are teaching them how to use tools like AI that they're going to need to be rapidly successful at learning.
What I like about this is that
I didn't know if she referring to prompts. Is she referring to engineering AI? I just need to know a little more.
A certain proficiency that a student may have, you're doubling down on that and ensuring that they're getting lots of different angles in that one subject.
With this, I'm sure the teachers would have to be, who's ever instructing would need to have a good background in AI. So yeah, a lot of questions in regards to this, but let's continue.
Subjects, whatever it is, rather than force feeding the child to learn about things that may not be useful at all.
Well, I actually think that it's really important to have academic knowledge within our brains just to make sure that we're drawing upon that knowledge for critical thinking skills. But we can take kids who are really proficient and advanced at a certain subject and show growth in the 80s and 90s. We can also take...
That's the thing. You got to balance it. Traditional school, you know, doing math problems by hand, even though math has totally changed, but that's a whole nother topic. You know, it all helps with the critical thinking piece. So I would love to see their model, their curriculum, or just how they're going to balance all of this. Because, you know, with AI, the majority of people, especially when you're new to it, you just, how can I make this sentence better? You know, things of that nature. So, yeah, jury's still out on this, but I definitely see the potential. Definitely see the need. It's forward thinking, and I hope that this isn't priced out. I hope this model gets incorporated to all class levels so we all can take advantage of it.
Same student who maybe struggles in a subject, and we can help them be successful in that too. So I think what happens is this personalized mastery-based education system raises the floor for all students and blows the ceiling off what's possible.
This is so huge, Mackenzie. I got to tell you, I've been hearing so much about it. I've been talking to friends, and they're sending their kids to these alpha schools. How many alpha schools are there in the country right now? I know there's one downtown by Wall Street.
We have about 50 locations that are opening up all over the country, and I think that's a sign that families realize that their kids need to be prepared.
There's going to be a paywall, I'm sure. So it's going to be like a private school. Hopefully she lets us know.
They need the life skills that are going to help them be successful. And the other thing we fundamentally believe is that school should be a place that kids love, because when kids love school and they love going, they are able to unlock really big opportunities and unlock their potential, really. And the secret to our success, it's not the artificial intelligence, it's the fact that we have transformed the role of the teacher in our classroom. Instead of having to spend their time creating lesson plans and delivering lectures and grading homework, all those types of things,
I'm glad she put that in there. She's commenting on the instructor or the teacher. So let's see where she goes with this.
Teachers, we call them guides, are focused completely on motivational and emotional support.
They're referred to as guides. I like that.
Helping to really get to know kids and unlock their why. And that's what's making this model so successful.
This is really important because I want to talk about some of the things that people would criticize when it comes to AI. Talk to us about using artificial intelligence in the classroom, and what you want to say about someone who says, look, I don't want my child in a screen all day.
Yeah.
I don't want them scrolling. I don't want AI to be the dominant force as opposed.
Well, they're almost in I wouldn't say a screen. My wife's a teacher. I wouldn't say they're in the screen all day, but I know they definitely get screen time. So let's see.
Talking with teachers, tell us.
There is so much fear around artificial intelligence, and there are a lot of good warranted concerns. So, for example, we don't use chatbots in our system. Chatbots in education are cheat bots. Our students instead are getting a precise lesson plan that's based off of the same curriculum that students in a normal school would be getting. So this isn't ChatGPT just making up questions for students. So that is something that we've been able to really secure and make sure it's right. Screen time is another one. I myself was a screen time free family, but there is a huge difference between doom scrolling TikTok all day or playing video games and getting a one-to-one personalized learning experience that meets kids exactly where they're at. So I believe this type of screen time is actually incredibly valuable.
I am 100% intrigued. This young lady seems squared away. Seems like she has a vision. I am intrigued.
And at our schools, our kids are actually spending less time on screens than the average student in a traditional school is nowadays. The difference is that this screen.
Okay, this is beginning to sound a little too good to be true, but let's hear her out.
Is smart screen time.
I want to get your take on how the federal government has also supported alpha schools. I spoke with the Education Secretary, Linda McMahon, and asked her about alpha schools just last week. Watch this.
We know that AI is here. We need to embrace it. We need to be ahead of China and other schools that are using these applications. So let's embrace.
Okay, this young lady, Linda McMahon, she's the head of education. So let's see what she says. Oh, sorry.
Let's put the proper guardrails in place. This is not intended to replace teachers, but to be an additional tool for teachers, in the classroom. At least that's how I see it. And I think that's how it's.
I love how she put that. AI, let's don't be afraid. We shouldn't be afraid of AI. AI is a tool. I think we need to scale back. Well, we'll do another segment on robotics, but AI is a tool. Even in my workplace, we have they furnished us with an AI software that we can use that is safe and secure. So it's here to stay. I utilize it as much as I can, trying to make my job more efficient. So I like this. We're heading in the right direction.
Explain to me, it's the best application of AI.
Tell us about that.
It was a pleasure to host the secretary at Alpha School. She took the time to really learn about our model, and she made a really important point. We're not replacing teachers. However, we are changing the teacher in front of the classroom model. That is an inefficient way to learn. Instead, when every student gets their own personalized tutor.
She's right about that, though. Not in a bad way. Always, constructive criticism. When she says inefficient, you got some classrooms, you got 30 kids, you got one teacher. So it's hard to make that distribute the lesson and to get those connection points with each child on their level. Every child is different. The typical class, especially with me growing up, it was four smart kids. You had 3 girls who were extremely smart, and then you had 1 boy that was, could hang with them. This is like an elementary. And the rest of us, definitely me, average at best.
That's where we're seeing such incredible growth, and we're allowing the humans who are
which is fine. There's nothing wrong with average. It's just some folks just have that knack where they can grasp concepts really quickly. But in this world we live in, well, at least it used to be, common sense could get you pretty far as well. Vice, the book smarts. We'll see if that continues with the latest trends.
To making that positive impact in kids' lives, to have so much more success and efficacy doing so. So it's been a really great model, and I think more and more people are starting to realize that if we leverage artificial intelligence to really raise human intelligence, the sky's the limit.
Yeah, it's really important. Now, one thing that has been raised to me when I'm talking about this with friends and people who tell me they're sending their children, it's expensive. Mm-hmm. So are you expecting prices over time to come down as it becomes more available? Tell us what you're expecting in terms of pricing and the availability of Alpha Schools.
We've gotten a lot of attention for Alpha School, and Alpha School is redefining what parents expect from their private school experience. So kids are doing crazy things like traveling, to Europe and doing these camping trips, all kinds of activities that they're doing. But what you
Yeah, I can already definitely want to hear her out, but I already can kind of hear her audience,
heard about is what we're rolling out in Texas. We have Texas sports academies. Texas is a state that recently passed school choice. So
I just found out that cheering, cheerleading, that was an expensive, I guess I could call it a hobby. Don't get offended. It's when your child is in cheering, like AAU, basketball and all that good stuff, even cheering, it's really expensive. I had no idea.
Students that have signed up for our program, the same academic platform that Alpha students are getting, and they are charged nothing for that. They're able to use school choice vouchers. The families that have signed up so far all come from incomes less than $65,000 a year. And
hey, let's go. Let's go.
Believe that when the registration period is done, our Texas Sports Academy students will make up the largest school district in Texas.
That's incredible.
So it is coming, and just like a lot of models, we have different types of schools, and there are families who maybe have the ability to go to an Alpha, and there are families who are going to be able to access this for free.
What do the unions say about all of this, Mackenzie?
Well, that's an interesting question. I think in general, teachers are nervous about when jobs change, and I think that
Maria, be on it. Nice reporting, Maria. Nice reporting.
A really important thing, and part of what I want to help explain is that there will never be a place when parents say, I don't want to drop my kids off in a building surrounded by other students and loving, caring adults. So I believe that teachers can embrace this model, and they will have so much more power.
And you're putting students first. Mm-hmm. And that's really what we want to say. Mackenzie, congratulations. We're going to be watching Alpha Schools. We're doing a whole week on.
We're definitely going to be watching Alpha Schools. I like that segment. We report on the good news. I know the controversial, the bad stuff is what everybody wants to hear, but that is encouraging. I support. I'm going to be keeping my eye out for Alpha Schools for sure. I'm going to bring that up to my wife, see what she thinks about it, and that makes me feel good. That was a great that's a great initiative and what they got going on over there in Texas. Speaking of controversial, we do have to report that golf legend, icon, Tiger Woods, Mr. Woods, was in an incident, misdemeanor, DUI situation, car accident. Luckily, nobody was hurt in this evolution. Thoughts and prayers to Mr. Woods. Let's hear the reports.
Florida, an update on the Tiger Woods crash.
To give you a rundown on a crash that happened a few hours ago here on Jupiter Island, and I really will tell you everything that I know at this time. So just before 2 p.m. today, the Jupiter Island Police Department, which is where we currently are, received a call of a rollover crash about 2.5 miles from where we are. The Jupiter Island Police Department responded out there and found a pickup truck pulling a pressure cleaner trailer and a Land Rover, which was rolled over on the driver's door, and we're going to provide you photos of that. The investigation started, and initially, right off the top,
I've seen the photos, the Land Rover. How he did it, I don't know, but the Land Rover was on his side. It was on the driver's side. So that's the severity. I can just give you an idea of the severity of this accident. So we'll go from there.
Appear that the driver of the Land Rover might be impaired, and at that point, the Chief Ewing of Jupiter Island Police Department called me from the Martin County Sheriff's Office and asked for our assistance. It wasn't that the Jupiter Island Police Department isn't fully capable of doing these types of investigations, but quite frankly, the Sheriff's Office has a lot more repetitions in these traffic crashes and these types of investigations. Our investigation revealed as follows. Shortly again before 2, the pressure cleaner truck pulling a small trailer, was northbound on South Beach Road and was pulling kind of to turn into a driveway. It was slowing down, starting to turn into a driveway, and the driver of that vehicle looked in his mirror and saw a Land Rover, a dark-colored Land Rover, overtaking him at high speeds, and I don't know those speeds. At
the time of this recording, I can report that Mr. Woods did not receive any injuries, or no one else was injured in this accident. Let's hear what the sheriff has to say.
Rover kept overtaking him. He saw it coming, so he tried to edge off to the side of the road, but this is a small 2-lane road, and there was no shoulder for this pressure cleaner gentleman to get off the side of the road. As he was trying to move to the side of the road, the Land Rover overtook him at the last minute, swerved to avoid a collision, but clipped the back end of the trailer of the pressure cleaner apparatus, listed to the side, and then rolled on the driver's door north past the truck that had just avoided the crash with. The individual driving that Land Rover was able to crawl out the passenger door of the car.
I'm not sure why Mr. Woods doesn't have a driver. I don't know why this isn't his first incident involving a vehicle. I don't know why he doesn't get a driver. It's kind of puzzling.
And was identified to be Mr. Tiger Woods. Our DUI investigators came to the scene here, and Mr. Woods did exemplify signs of impairment. They did several tests on him. Of course, he did explain the injuries and the surgeries that he had. We did take that into account. But they did do some in-depth roadside tests. And when it was determined, he was placed under arrest and taken to the Martin County Jail. At the Martin County Jail, and even on scene, we really weren't suspicious of alcohol being involved in this case, and that proved to be true at the jail. So Mr. Woods did a breathalyzer test, blew 000s, but when it came time for us to ask for a urinalysis.
That's important to note. He was not under the influence of alcohol, which is, I'm sure if I ran the statistics, that's like the leading cause of DUI or reckless driving. So not sure what type of substance Mr. Woods was on. So that would have him like impaired,
Yes, he refused, and so he's been charged with DUI, with property damage, and refusal to submit to a lawful test. In the crash,
2 misdemeanor offenses. At the time of this recording, Mr. Woods has been released out of custody from,
Was injured. Mr. Woods did not seem to be injured at all, and the other gentlemen were not injured. But this happened a few hours ago, so I've given you the information that I have right here, right now. So with that, let me kick it to you for questions. I'll answer what I can answer.
Just to be clear, they're both going in the same direction. Tiger was coming up.
Which is just a few questions, because this is the gist of the purpose I wanted to use this video for, and then we get into my commentary.
And the guy in the pickup with the pressure cooler?
So the question is, were they both going the same direction? Yes. Both of them were in the 280 block of South Beach Road, driving northbound.
As a matter of fact, we'll skip the questions. That's enough. We got the context of what happened. Was not alcohol related. However, it still was impaired. My commentary is this. Some folks are saying has Mr. Woods tarnished his legacy. I try to keep that separate. I don't think that, I'll speak for myself, I don't think that his extracurricular activities, outside of sport, tarnishes what he did as a golfer. And I was late to that, to be honest with you. When Tiger Woods was out there kicking ass, I wasn't watching golf. I still don't watch golf, but I still heard of his great accomplishments of what he did as a golfer. That doesn't tarnish that. For me, his mugshot is out now, and people are taking that and running with it. But he still did what he did. If I saw Mr. Woods tomorrow, I would, hey, that's Mr. Woods, one of the best golfers to ever do it. So I just wanted to provide commentary on that. I hope he gets a driver, utilizes it, so he can get out of these types of situations. But I don't know what he has going on in his personal life. But my main reason for doing this segment was to, he's still Mr. Woods. I'm gonna respect him as that, one of the best golfers. He did his thing. He changed. He revolutionized the sport, and I'll never be able to take that away from him. So, TMP to Mr. Woods. Hey, you're a grown man. Everybody got to live with their choices and the consequences of them. So, hey, thoughts and prayers out to you for sure. You're still one of the greatest to ever do it. It's just, hopefully the noise around you in other areas can kind of quiet down and be silent. So, Major League Baseball. Baseball season is upon us. And I have to say, I think that Major League Baseball is on an uptick. I honestly think it's going to be it's back to where it used to be, America's game. Well, I don't want to go too far. Okay, football is going to be the most popular sport in this country, but I think baseball is definitely getting the notoriety back. Just yesterday, here's a little nugget. If you don't watch baseball and you want to kind of dabble into it, or if you got spare time, start by checking out Dodgers games. The game last night was it was playing against Arizona. It's absolutely phenomenal. They were down 2-0 till about the 8th. I think it was the bottom of the 8th, or the top, either the top of the 8th or the bottom of the 7th, where they were 2-0. And it was in the 8th where they came back and won the game. Ended up winning the game 3-2, playing against Arizona. So it's absolutely phenomenal. Right now, I think Aaron Judge is the face of the league, and Ohtani without a doubt, those are the two faces of the league. But the Dodgers as a whole, they got a pretty good squad, Mookie Betts. But I'm enjoying it. I'm going to be tuning in. And with that being said, if you are a T-Mobile customer, they offer Major League Baseball TV for free, which is a $149.99 value. But the window is short. You have until the 30th of March to apply. And it's limited. How about that? So just wanted to throw it out there. If you're a T-Mobile customer, I got it. Hey, it's free. So I'm going to take every advantage or perk I can with my carrier. So with that being said, again, Major League Baseball is back. Opening season is kicked off. We're gonna hear a report on it, and then provide more commentary.
Tonight is opening night for Major League Baseball. As the Yankees take on the Giants in San Francisco, it will be the first MLB game to air on Netflix. Another first of its kind this season. Pitchers.
That's another thing. Netflix picking up baseball. I know they're trying to gobble up everything they can, but that's just another, in my opinion, indication that it's getting popular. More popular, I should say. When you hear networks start to pick them up and all that good stuff, and to start being able to be seen on different platforms, that's always a plus. So check out their stock and see if that affects that in any way.
And batters can challenge.
Every network is trying to gobble up all the sports they can. That's just a fact. Soccer, the list goes on and on. Everybody's trying to get a piece.
Balls and strikes using a robo-ump. That's right. You heard me correctly. Let's go to Chris Van Cleve in San Francisco. Chris, good morning again.
Well, good morning. Nate, the best thing about opening day is anything is possible, but this is a pretty big rule change, and baseball thinks fans are actually going to love it because it is aimed at addressing one of those things that has people screaming at the television every season. Now, the thing to watch for.
That's the main purpose of this segment, is one, to announce the official opening of Major League Baseball, and that they're incorporating AI into the game to help or assist with strikes, which is going to be a game changer. So they're implementing a challenge system. But let's hear them out.
This move right here.
In the leadoff spot for the 2026 baseball season, all eyes are on the tap.
In there, and Judge wants a review.
For the first time, players can challenge a ball or strike call.
I think that's going to be a great addition to the game. Challenges. It's anticipation. It's smarts. It's wittiness. It just always help with the game. Football has had it. Basketball. You just always want to see, hey, did they win that challenge? And sometimes it can change the momentum of a game for sure.
Teams spent spring training learning the new automated ball strike.
Or actually change the complete outcome of a game. So this is going to be interesting to watch.
Challenge system, or ABS. Giants manager Tony Vitello.
It sure is entertaining to have everybody look at the scoreboard and see if their bingo number comes up or not.
That's the word I was looking for, entertaining. Definitely is a value add to the entertaining aspect of the sport.
They cheered.
The pitcher, catcher, or hitter can challenge an umpire's call immediately after a pitch by tapping their head.
The pitcher, catcher, or hitter. Wow.
Each team gets 2 challenges a game. If they win, they keep the challenge. If the ump's call is confirmed, they lose one.
Oh, challenge.
I'm personally a fan of it. I think it gets the crowd engaged.
Giants catcher Daniel Susak.
I think the biggest part is, one, knowing when to challenge, and being 100% sure.
What goes into this is the time to challenge?
I'd say maybe the impact of the game. That's something where the momentum can switch a little bit.
ABS now adjusts the strike zone based on the player's height. It uses a series of cameras around the stadium to determine a pitch's exact location, showing the result.
We all know that's going to be spot on. Surprised they didn't do this before, but definitely don't get rid of the umpires. I'm glad of that. At first, when I heard rumors of this, I thought they were going to just depend on camera systems and AI and get rid of the ump. But an ump is a staple in the sport, so I'm glad to see that that's not getting changed.
On the Jumbotron for fans to see.
It's going to give players the ability to, make sure calls made in really high leverage situations are correct.
Former big league pitcher Joe Martinez is MLB's vice president of on-field strategy.
What do you say to the fans that sort of take the position of stop messing with baseball?
Yeah, I think we'd like to do that too. We've identified some opportunities to make some improvements. I think we're just trying to bring out kind of the best version of the game. That's really our goal.
World champion Dodgers manager Dave Roberts thinks it'll do just that.
I think it makes the game better. Players now have to have skin in the game. If they want to complain about a call,
He's a smart guy too. He's won championships with the Dodgers, and I'm pretty sure he won a championship with the Cubbies.
challenge it.
The system has been tested and refined in the minor leagues since 2022. On average, there have been about 4 challenges a game, each taking around 15 seconds. Players are right about half the time. Catchers are the most accurate. 60% of minor leaguers prefer the challenge system, while
the catchers are the closest. You would think the pitcher, but I don't know. Maybe that's a conflict of interest, but the catchers are definitely right there.
16% like the idea of a full-time robo-ump. Do you like having the umpire back there?
Yeah, you definitely got to have a human aspect of the game. A lot of guys say they like,
Yeah, let's don't get crazy. Let's balance this whole AI human relationship. Let's balance this, please.
Someone to argue with, so.
And in fact, there may be less to argue about with the new system. One of the takeaways from spring training was just how accurate umpires actually are when trying to gauge a pitch at 100 miles an hour. Another thing we learned, that box in the strike zone that you see on TV last season wasn't the actual strike zone. That's changing this year. What you see on.
We see, he got me with that. I definitely 100% thought that was the strike zone. If not, then what is it? So I'm a little perplexed on that one. What is it then if it's not the strike zone? It's if you watch baseball now, it's already a box on every play, on every hit. And I thought, as long as I've been watching, as long as they had that box there, that was the strike zone. What is it if it isn't that?
TV will in fact be the same strike zone as this ABS system is using, guys.
All right, Chris.
Really interesting. That's a surprise. I thought it was the actual strike zone.
Yeah.
I just don't want it to make the
games long.
You and me both, Gail. You and me both.
All these years.
Yeah,
it's on average 15 seconds. That's a lot faster than the NFL and NBA.
Yeah.
When they challenge calls.
Let's hope that.
So we're gonna leave it there. Looking forward to that. Getting that AI assistance baked in, make the game even better. Add some controversy to it. So I see nothing but great things with that rule change. Definitely looking forward to that in the Major League Baseball. And again, you heard it here first. Major League Baseball is definitely on the uptick. I'm enjoying the games. They're not long and drawn out. It's awesome. So we received reports that Elon Musk is considering merging his Tesla company and SpaceX. That'll be a huge merger because, to date, we were always under the impression that there were going to be 2 separate companies as far as we're waiting on SpaceX's IPO. I definitely was. I wanted to get on that train at the beginning as soon as they left the tracks. So with them merging, what that'll do with the stock, I am unsure. But if they do merge, whatever they call it, I'm definitely going to partake in that. I think Tesla's going to, both are definitely growth stock opportunities. I'm not your financial advisor, but I can tell you what I do. I'm definitely interested in investing in SpaceX when it does hit IPO. But let's hear the reports on it, and we'll add commentary from there. But this is huge news, actually.
Biggest merger in business history. Top tech analyst Dan Ives of Wedbush now saying he expects Tesla and SpaceX to combine into one behemoth of a company next year. He's inferring that because Tesla had invested $2 billion in Musk's other company, xAI. That stake then got converted to SpaceX shares last month when the space company acquired xAI. But the current size and structure of that stake remain unclear. As the market awaits the SpaceX IPO, the EV maker's stock has been on a 5-week lose.
Like if you they got it up there now. Tesla is on the downward tick, a downward spiral. But I have faith in the company Tesla. I think they're going to be here. And so I put as much as I can into that individual stock. And I like to buy and hold, so I should reap benefits from that in the long run.
Streak. Now, if it wants to break that streak, it needs to close today above $367.96. Right now, we're at $361.62. Not quite there, although We were earlier, so it could still happen. Joining me now, former Tesla president and DVX Ventures co-founder and CEO John McNeil. John, go into the mind of Elon Musk. You know him, you talk to him. Do you think this is really going to happen? Is Dan Ives right? And by the
former Tesla president. This should be interesting.
It was Kara Swisher, the journalist from Silicon Valley who covered so many years, who really said this months ago. She really predicted it early.
I think Kara and Dan might be onto something. I just wrote a book about my experience at Tesla called The Algorithm, and one of Elon's most important organizing principles is simplicity. And I think in that sense, he'd rather run one.
You can tell by his vehicles. Definitely minimalist features in the Tesla, at least the Model 3. Which I like. They definitely try to do less clicks to do a certain thing, except for that. We'll get into that to another video. Let's hear what John has to say.
Company, not two, and would rather run one balance sheet, not two. And there's so much overlap between XAI, which is now part of SpaceX, and Tesla. Tesla's two primary initiatives are autonomous cars, which is AI, and robotics, humanoid robots, which is AI. So I think Dan and Kara might be onto something in the sense that Elon would put all those assets together and just make it a lot more efficient to run.
And how would that go with investors out there? Do you think that they would like it? Because there are so many people who have been waiting on SpaceX to go public.
Exactly.
And they might not see SpaceX as a normal fit for Tesla.
Right, you have three very different companies coming together potentially. You've got a rocket company that's got 90% plus market share in launch, so really good positioning, strong cash flow.
You hear that now? You hear this now. If they do merger, like you said, three companies coming together, I don't see how that stock could fail. So, yeah, I need to get my chips right. I need to get my chips together, get my money right.
You've got Tesla that's cash flowing, even though the top line shrinking, they're cash flowing. And then you've got X that's burning a lot of capital. And so those are three pretty different things, but they're all related together in terms of the core assets that they need to survive and thrive.
You are a car guy. You also sit on the General Motors board. And you were the guy who lasted 3 years at Tesla. By the way, he was telling me that the average executive lasts how many years at Tesla?
1.
So you're the one who lasted.
I was an old timer by year 3.
Tesla, from a car company perspective, has had a rough go of it. They have seen much lower delivery numbers.
Yeah.
They have also seen production numbers go down, and there are way more competitors. It used to.
We'll see if that stays the same. Well, definitely true with the competitors, but we'll see if that stays the same with the current gas prices and forecasting of how long gas prices are going to be on the rise.
The only game in town.
Exactly.
And now everybody's making EVs.
Right.
I mean, some are scaling back because President Trump is not that excited about.
Everyone's making EVs, and I like them. I like the Chevy EVs. Definitely like the Cadillac EVs, but right now my confidence is. I still want to say that Tesla is the leading EV manufacturer as far as I think their competitors have caught up with the technology. This is just a personal thing. I have just more trust in Tesla's infrastructure, if you want to say. So if I were to that was a long-winded soliloquy to say that if I was to get an EV tomorrow, it would more than likely it would be a Tesla, even though there's definitely some competitive choices out there. I'll get a Tesla.
But BMW has an award-winning EV.
Yep.
B1D in China.
Plus, I can't even afford the BMW and the Cadillac, so kind of puts me in a spot there.
Yeah.
So, do you foresee at some point Tesla not making those cars anymore?
I think I do. You can see a day when that happens, largely because Elon has gone all chips in on humanoid robots. They've pulled the production dates forward for those robots. They're making huge progress.
I'll provide commentary on that, but they did shut down, I think it was the Fremont plant, to basically be dedicated to humanoids. So they're not even making the X and the S. They're not even making those anymore. So that kind of shocked me, to be honest with you.
And you can see a day where all that manufacturing capacity might be absorbed by humanoid robots and robotaxis. I think those could be their two products going forward.
Yeah.
Now that makes sense, using that plant for robotaxis. Robotaxis, I think, has a future. Yeah, it has a future.
Humanoid robots.
Yeah.
Do you think they will be as big a deal and as big a revenue driver as Elon believes they will? They are very tall. You're nodding. You want one of those in your house?
I'll stop right there. Or pause. I don't think so. Well, let me make sure I say this correct. Yes, they may be popular, but I don't think they're going to be as popular, at least in the short term, as they're saying. Because hey, those things are going to come out. They're going to be like what, $20,000. I'm not chomping at the bit to have a robot walking around in here, cleaning up or doing whatever they say it can do. I wish we could scale back on the humanoid robots thing. I don't like it. I won't be getting one. I can cut my own grass. So that's my take on humanoid robots at the moment. I'm pretty forward thinking. I'm not afraid of technology, but I think we need to scale back. Well, it's not my choice, but I wish we would scale back on the domestic humanoid robot whole concept.
I don't know if we've got some, but these are the Optimus Primes.
Exactly. They were actually made to be smaller than a human, so that you could literally reach around the back of the neck and shut them off. And one of the design principles was...
Nobody even said that because it can be perceived as a danger. We've already saw iRobot and all that stuff. So you make this giant robot or man-sized robot. Like, how strong is that thing? What can it lift? Can it lift a couch by itself? What is it going to do to a human?
Small, so that they're easily more easy to manipulate as a human, and not as threat.
They just wanted to be less intimidating. That's all that theory or concept is about.
But I do see that as potentially being...
Get a thing, a software update, and it can lift, I don't know, 500 pounds. It's
maybe the biggest consumer product of all time, and certainly we're deploying them.
I would bounce back on that because, first of all, I need to know the price point. There's people out here barely can afford vehicles at the price point it is now. So how much you think this thing really is, and how much I'm talking about the average consumers here willing to pay for this assistant. I guess we can call it that.
Even in places like General Motors, in the factory, as fast as we can, because we're short places, people to work in dangerous places. You'd much rather put a robot into those situations.
That I would have liked to push back. He said that they're interested in the robots because General Motors are short people to work in dangerous places. I would like to know exactly. Give me an example. Because look at this guy. I wouldn't be surprised if they wanted to build these robots to just replace the majority of the humans, just have a maintenance crew probably at these factories. I want to know what dangerous jobs, and is it that many at the General Motors plant that you're referring to, sir? John, isn't his name John? Look.
I get that. Yeah. I get that, but the auto industry overall is facing very difficult times. They're dealing with the tariffs.
Yes.
They are dealing with the $7,500 EV tax credit. So a lot of them backpedaled on their EV plans. Now, of course, we have sky-high oil prices and gasoline.
Right.
Since the start of the war is now $1 higher per gallon. It almost seems like the timing wasn't quite right to scale back EVs.
That's right. And thank goodness General Motors didn't. We have preserved all of our models and sort of right-sized our manufacturing capacity. So if oil prices stay up, we're going to see an increased demand for EVs, and GM they've gone from zero to the second player in the space, and they'll strengthen that position, I think.
I know somebody who just got a Lyriq.
So we'll document that. GM is the second placeholder for EV sales, probably in the United States. So I'll fact check that, and if so, good for GM.
Yeah,
EV,
it's a great car.
They love it.
Yeah.
And by the way, she's like early 30s. She's not some old fogey.
That's a nice looking car. I bet it costs $90,000, but it's nice.
Cadillac.
Yeah, Cadillac has completely remade their image, and now it's the brand of young people who want like tech-forward cars, and that's what Cadillac is.
John, good to see you. Please come back, especially when this does happen. It sounds like you believe the mega merger will happen.
So there you have it. That was info on SpaceX and Tesla merging. Look forward to seeing that and the outcomes of it, and a glimpse on my thoughts on robotics. So that's going to be the show for this week. Thank you for tuning in to your weekly news report. It's always a pleasure. I'm your host, B Dove. We'll definitely see you on the next one. Peace.